Throughout this season, we've seen a lot of eye-catching things happen. Luka dropping a 20-60 triple-double, Donovan Mitchell dropping a 70-point game, LeBron James was messing around and happened to break the all-time scoring record. These moments were all spectacular to witness, but something that's been super impressive as well are the seasons that these three particular players are having. I mean, I don't even think I need to say who they are. You guys probably found that out from the title and thumbnail. It's Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. These three players are in a different stratosphere compared to the rest of the league. I think it's pretty obvious that this MVP race is a three-man race. Today we're going to really uncover who truly deserves to win the 2022 NBA MVP. Today we're going to really uncover who truly deserves to win the 2023 NBA MVP. Like we mentioned before, the three no-brainer picks for the MVP this year are Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis. But who of these three is the best? Well, if you guys like to watch ESPN, you know how highly they think about Jokic this year. But is all the hype really worth it? Well, we're going to check that out right now. Let's take a look at some of the basic stats of the three players this year. Right here we have points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Jokic this year is a hair away from averaging a 25 and 12 triple-double. Joel Embiid this year is averaging almost 34 points a game, along with 10 boards. Giannis this year is nothing short of impressive. He's averaging 31 and 12. Joel Embiid is leading the trio in points and blocks, and Jokic is leading them in assists and steals, and is tied with Giannis for rebounds. Let's take a look at some shooting percentages now. As we can see here, Nikola Jokic dominates this category. He leads the 3 in field goal percentage, effective field goal percentage, and true shooting. The only one that he doesn't lead in is free throw percentage, which Joel Embiid takes. It's really impressive how efficient all three of these players are, well, besides Giannis from the free throw line. Jokic is shooting 63% this year. That's insanely high. That's almost 2/3 of your shots falling. His true shooting percentage, which factors in all shots a player takes, Jokic is shooting over 70% there. Jokic is pushing the limits of efficiency and production on the court. Let's take a look at some advanced numbers now. The stats that tell us about a player's production, efficiency, and effectiveness. As you guys have probably noticed this far in the video, Nikola Jokic dominates the numbers. Jokic is first place in player efficiency rating, offensive win shares per 48 minutes, offensive box plus minus, defensive box plus minus, and value over replacement. And several of these categories it's not even close. Joel Embiid slightly beats out Giannis for first place in defensive win shares. What's kind of funny is Nikola Jokic is doing all of this while having a significantly lower usage percentage. His usage is 12% less than the next closest guy, Joel Embiid. It really goes to show you how dang efficient Jokic is. To really put a cherry on top, we're going to look at shooting percentages by distance of our three candidates. I'll give you one guess as to who dominates this. Yup, you guessed it. Nikola Jokic leads in every single distance of shot. Some are closer than others, like 10 to 16 feet, where Jokic barely beats out Embiid. But other areas aren't as close at all, like from 3 to 10 feet out, where Jokic is 23% higher than the next highest player, Joel Embiid, or 16 feet to 3-point range, where Embiid is 10% off of Jokic. The numbers are great, but they can only tell us so much. Let's take a dive into each candidate's individual case for the award and how it would affect them if they won it. Let's take a look at Giannis first. I think the real argument for Giannis is that he's the best player on the best team in the league. The Milwaukee Bucks are right now ranked the #1 team in both the Eastern Conference and the whole NBA, despite the Bucks facing several injuries this year, mainly to their all-star starter Chris Middleton. Giannis has proved that he can lead a team through difficult times during the last few seasons. Giannis' stats aren't nearly as perfect as Jokic or Embiid, but don't let that fool you. The stats don't really do Giannis any justice here. Although Giannis is averaging a very impressive 31 and 12 this year, I believe he's actually better than those stats. There's something about Giannis' game that's hard to put into a metric. It's hard to put Giannis in the Milwaukee Bucks championship pedigree into a single stat for comparisons. Giannis is also the best two-way player on this list, and I'm pretty sure you guys all know this. But what if Giannis did somehow win the MVP this year? How would that change things for him? Well, if he did somehow sneak an MVP past Jokic and Embiid, it would be his third MVP of his career. It would add to a stacked resume of 3 MVPs, 1 defensive player, 1 championship, and 1 finals MVP. This would just remind the whole world who is the best player in the league, or maybe I'm just being a biased Bucks fan. Let's take a look at Joel Embiid now. Joel Embiid, in my opinion, is a top 2 candidate for MVP. Joel Embiid, of these 3 players, has the most complete offensive game. Embiid is the best scorer on here. His solid mid-range jump shot, combined with his effective post moves down low, and let's not forget about his elite foul baiting, explains the 33 points a game. Joel Embiid is the best shot blocker on this list. Joel has led the 76ers to a toss-up between them and the Boston Celtics for the 2nd seed in the East. But what would happen if Joel Embiid won the MVP this year? What would happen if he beat out Jokic for the award? Well, Philadelphia fans would finally stop crying and complaining, which is good enough for me. But on a serious note, this would finally give Joel Embiid his first MVP after being second behind Giannis and Jokic for the last 2 to 3 years. If Joel Embiid won an MVP, it would look good in his resume. But it's really a double-edged sword. Winning an MVP would put even more pressure than the 76ers already have to make a deep playoff run. The pressure would really be put on Joel Embiid to not choke in the playoffs like the 76ers have for the past 5 years. But we're still trusting the process, right? In a way, it's a blessing and a curse. Finally, let's look at who we all know is going to win the MVP this year. Nikola Jokic. I mean, the stats this guy's putting up are like if God put a jersey and basketball shoes on. The man is averaging 25, 12, and 10 while casually having a true percentage of 70%. And it's not like this man is just taking 2-foot shots the whole game. Jokic is shooting more than 2 3-pointers a game, and more than half of those shots are taken from 3 feet to 3-point range. The next closest guys to him in true shooting that fulfill these requirements are Kevin Durant, Austin Reeves, and Steph Curry, and their true shooting percentages are less than 68%. Nikola Jokic, like we looked at before, is the pinnacle of efficiency while having an insane production value. What more else do you want me to say? Nikola Jokic is probably the most well-rounded player on here offensively. He has no weakness on that side of the ball. He can dribble like a point guard, shoot like a shooting guard, finish like a forward, and has the size of a center. To answer the question in the title, yes, Nikola Jokic does deserve 3 straight MVPs. However, like we mentioned before with Embiid, it's a double-edged sword. With Jokic winning his 3rd MVP in a row, the Nuggets' lack of playoff success in recent years, and the fact that Denver is a 1 seed in the West, brings an insane amount of pressure for him and his Nuggets to win in the playoffs. The only other players to ever win 3 straight MVPs in a row are Larry Bird, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain. If Jokic wins his 3rd straight MVP, it puts so much pressure on him to live up to the standards of these all-time greats before him. Nikola Jokic has all the regular season accolades, achievements, and stats to put him along with the greatest big men of all time. But what really cements it is how you translate that greatness into playoff games. The media was the same way with past superstars. At first, Michael Jordan was known as a great player and a prolific scorer, but people doubted that his play style could translate into winning championships. He silenced the crowd with 2 three-peats. At first, LeBron James was known as quite possibly one of the greatest young superstars the game has ever seen, but people didn't believe that LeBron had that clutch gene inside of him, and he silenced the crowd with 2 rings in Miami and a 3-1 comeback in the finals against one of the greatest dynasties the game has seen. And most recently, one of the players that Jokic is literally competing against for this award, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He was in a very similar situation as Jokic is now. He won back-to-back MVPs in 2019 and 2020, but people doubted his abilities in the playoffs. People thought he wasn't a winner. Do you hear anyone ever say that about Giannis anymore? No, because he silenced the doubters and won a championship. Until Jokic wins a title, or at the very least makes it out of the West and is playing like he's an MVP, people are going to be a little skeptical of giving him the award 3 times in a row. Jokic coming up short in the playoffs year after year just validates the amount of a joke the NBA MVP is. And before you go running to the comment section, I know, the MVP is a regular season award, but it doesn't matter to the fans. People are still going to judge the credibility of you winning such a prestigious award like the MVP based off the games where greatness is truly put to the test, the postseason. No matter if you like it or not, whether it's even fair or not, the playoffs are always going to be factored into the MVP award. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to go bet over at BetUS, link in description. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more.